Today, together with Marcin, we would like to show you how to change the behavior of Jira screens with UI modifications. I will go through all the basics that you need to know about UI. Sorry. I will go through all the basics that you need to know about UI modifications to start writing apps, and then Marcin will do a demo with live coding. Okay, so let's go. And before I explain what is UI modifications and how to use it, let's go through some example use cases. As a Jira user, you want to create a bug ticket. Sorry. The description is often similar, so to make it easier, you would like to have a template for this field on the create screen. Or let's imagine that in your issue template, you have multiple tabs. One tab has fields to fill in only in the particular transition. It would be handy to hide it when it is not needed. What else could simplify the work? For example, you have a radio buttons field and the select list fields, which values are connected. Based on the selected value in the radio field, you want to filter out invalid select options. Or maybe you would like to assign the default issue type to user group for the create screen. Every team has its own needs, so we could have many more examples. It is impossible to address all these cases with Jira settings because it is simply too many combinations. But this is where we can use extensibility. You can use the UI modifications Forge module in all the examples listed. The UI modifications allow you to allow the look and the behavior of the supported screens. The UI is modified using the UI modifications JS API provided in the Forge Jira Bridge package. This package works on the client side and will be effective only when you use it within the static resource declared in the Jira UI modifications module. The UI modifications module requires additional configuration. You can create and manage the UI modifications and their context using the provided REST API. Each app can store multiple UI modifications entities, each of which may contain custom data. Each entity needs to be assigned to at least one context, but no more than 1,000. The context is a combination of view type, issue type ID, and project ID. One of these properties can have a null value to work as a wildcard. In the script, you have access to the configured modifications data, and you can use this information to adapt your code to different actions that you offer in your app. For example, you have an app that allows the admin to hide various fields in selected contexts. You can create a separate UI modification entity for each field, assign it to the selected context, and store the fields identifier in the entity's data. Regarding view type, you can configure UI modifications for the selected screens. For each view type, UI modification supports selected most popular entry points. And by entry point, I mean a place from where screen was opened. For example, for a create screen, one of the supported entry points is a create button in the header. The first supported view is an issue create. Yeah, we can see right now the modal. We've seen loading indicators and some changes applied. The second one is an issue view. These two screens are the main Jira screens in the daily work of many of us. Again, we see some modifications. Recently, we added the support of the issue transition screen. It is a modal that pops up if it is configured in the workflow for the transition between the statuses. An important thing is that UI modifications only run on the new experience of the issue transition dialog, and the legacy dialog isn't and won't be supported. So we see that I'm changing the status, and the transition modal pops up. And again, we see some modifications for fields. Let's move on and take a look at the example manifest file. Firstly, we see that there is a Jira UI modifications module with the key for the module, title, and the static resource. In this example, I'm using also second module, Jira admin page. It is added to allow admin to configure the UI modifications context. It also has static resource and resolver for API calls. Then we have a path to the resources that was used already earlier. And the last part, scopes. UI modifications expose customer data to the app. Therefore, you must declare either classic or granular scopes in your manifest. We recommend to use the classic scopes, and note that you always have to declare all scopes from your chosen group, and you can find all necessary scopes in the UI modifications documentation. Another new feature of UI modifications is a multiple apps support. Recently, we added support to run multiple apps with UI modifications for given context. If you install and configure multiple apps to run for a given context, up to 5 apps can apply changes at the same time. If more than 5 apps are configured, changes from the remaining apps will be ignored. Apps apply changes asynchronously, so the order of applied changes is random. There may be conflicts where multiple apps attempt to modify the same field using the same field API method or trying to modify the same screen tab. In such cases, app developers will receive conflict errors via the OR and on error handler, and user will see corresponding notifications. If the conflict happens, the changes applied by the app which finished running last will override changes from other apps. Okay, so how app can use UI modifications in the static resource? We already know that UI modifications JS API is provided in the Forge Jira Bridge package. This API provides three lifecycle methods: onInit, onChange, and onError. When you are using onInit method, you should provide two callbacks. And init callback is where apps can query fields, screen tabs, data, and request modifications. And register fields callback is used to specify which fields will be changed by init callback. When the onInit callback is called, on an initial load of the screen, on a project or issue type change because of the context change, and for the create screen on a create another issue option when needed checkbox is selected in the create model. OnChange method is similar to the onInit method. You should provide change callback and register fields callback. The onChange callback is called on a blur field event for the text fields and on the change field events for the other fields. The third method is onError. When you are using onError method, you should provide one callback where you can process the errors. This method can improve your developer experience. You will be notified when your app passes wrong data to the Fields API or Screen Tabs API. The past callback will be called on every validation errors. So, for example, as I mentioned, if you pass wrong data, for example, option ID to save value method. The other situation when it is called is when multiple apps call the same method. We call this situation a conflict. We know already about the life cycle methods, so let's take a look what methods are available in the field API. So we have getField by ID to query particular field. It accepts field's ID and returns the field API object if the fields exist on the supported view. GetFields, allowing to iterate over fields. it returns an array of field API objects with all supported fields available on the current view. The field API is an object that contains methods to get the ID and type, and getters and setters for the field's name, description, visibility, value, read-only and required state, and options visibility for selects. Important is all the changes requested by setters in this API aren't applied immediately. They're batched and only applied after the execution of the onInit or onChange callback ends. This means that reading the values using getters will always provide the initial form field state, which is immutable. In addition to the Fields API, we have a new Screen Tabs API. It was released just a few weeks ago. It allows to modify the tabs configured in the issue layout. Like Fields API, Screen Tabs API provides a getScreenTab by ID and getScreenTabs methods. The getScreenTab by ID accepts tab ID and returns the ScreenTab API object if the tab exists on the supported view. And getScreenTabs returns an array of ScreenTab API objects with all ScreenTabs mounted on the current view. ScreenTab API object contains getID method, focus method, and getter and setter for tabs visibility. The focus switches the focus to a given screen tab. If you are using setVisible method, make sure you don't try to hide the tab that's currently in focus, because it would return a validation error. The changes batching works exactly the same as for the Fields API. Yeah, we went through all the necessary information about UI modifications. Shortly, Marcin starts the live coding demo part to show you examples of how the UI modifications app can simplify daily work in Jira. Before this, let's sum up. You can use UI modifications module to change the behavior of Jira screens and resolve many custom use cases. Remember that modifications can be applied in the supported screen, opened from the supported entry point. Also, Fields API can be used for supported field types, but this list is already long and it is growing. My call to action is to check UI modifications documentation and try creating your own app. Maybe you have a use case in your daily work that can be superpowered with UI modifications. And we can move to the live coding. I just need a second to stop sharing. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, hello on the live coding part. Let me share my screen, at least part of that, and explain a few things, what we will do today. So first, are you able to see my screen? At least you should see the VS Code, yeah, it's there. And the browser is also probably there. And the terminal. So the terminal is just for the purpose of explanation that I'm using for channel, and I'm using watch option from the example app that we prepared for this devden. You can just grab this app if you want as well. And I will not show this anymore. Probably it will not be that important. It's just running in the background. What is important for us is this one, and as well the browser. So there was a question about the UI that we can configure UIM, and there is no UI that is built in Jira, but we also have the UI that we can configure UIM in our example app, so you can use it. You can make it better, nicer for you, for your purpose. And for this demonstration, I just configured a few things here. So one UI modification with a few views, and tasks and back as well. And we can jump into the Jira. What is additionally what I did to make the smooth usage of UIM, I added some embedded console logs that are also available in the example app that shows us the context of the running UIM. So you can just check if you're running the UIM in which view, which task, you have an ID of the project. And as well, I added also the listing of all the fields by using one of the method that Marta described. And also the screen tabs. It will be useful as well later on if you want to do something with screen tabs and we don't have ID. So just to not grab this from any external API, we can just use those console logs and have it. Okay, so I prepared four to-dos in the app. Like first one would be pretty simple by creating a template for the description, but only for the issue create. And bug, different for bug, different for other types. Making some changes in tab in the new API that we released a few months ago. And as well, making dependencies between fields. So for example, if I would set the label RTB, then I will have less priorities inside priority field. And we would like to also do the same for onChange. So first things first, I will run issue create. There is just console log because I'm running the app, Birchforge tunnel, but there is no template for the description. I can just write something and I will have some console logs as well. So by giving that, we can just use our API. So Marta mentioned as well about the get field by ID API. I know the ID. It's pretty simple to get it. Even I can grab it from here. The ID would be description. It's the same as the type. Yeah, but the condition would be different. Yeah. So in a second. And yeah, the best probably would be to assign it to const. And then do some changes. As I mentioned, we would like to set this data only on issue create. So I prepared some function, this already also in the example app, that uses the extension data that are available by view get context. And we can just make a condition that this is issue create or this is issue view or issue transition. So I would use it here and pass the extension. And if we have description, I can try to set something. Also, as well, I prepared the back template and the other template. Here in this example app, I use the ADF builder that is here. It's publicly available, so you can use it as well. And build your own template easily. So I would set data and run it. Yeah, first part, and we see a problem here. We encountered an error while applying UI modifications, and I don't know where is the problem. So yeah, for sure I forgot that one, but the dependency, but to easily check what can be the issue here, I can use the third method. Sorry. I will import from here. Third lifecycle method to check what kind of error I have right now. So I really don't know. And I will just a simple console log. And we can check in a second what is wrong. Okay, I have this console log and I see that we have field validation failed with set description. Yeah, because I'm trying to set description, but I should set value. Yeah? And if I fix that, I can run it once again. And I have a description here. No? So I have this the template, then the user can just remove this part, for example, and make some changes. Okay, but it's not everything here because we wanted to have a different template for a bug. That's obvious that we don't want to have it for task because there is no steps to reproduce for task. So we can just do another condition here just by getting the data about if this is a bug or not from the context that I mentioned. So I can know that this issue type is a task or a bug or something else. I can do the condition by ID or the name. In that case, I will do that by the name and use the other template. Saving and trying once again. So I have task, I have different for task, and then I will switch to bug and different one for bug. So the first to do is done. The next one would be to, yeah, you probably saw that I have this quality assurance tab always available. It's just for fulfilling for some quality people in our team, for example. But it's not super useful in all of the statuses and also in GAC right now. I would have it the best to have it on transitioning from the review to done status. Then I would just make it available and usable for the quality person. And also as well, we want to force fulfilling this field. So the change impact and quality review should be fulfilled by the person that is transitioning to done status. But yeah, this is not needed for all of the other previous statuses, but it's needed only for this one. So by taking the next step in our API, we need to first hide the tab, yeah. So it's there always, and the tab ID is 100 and 28 here. So I can just use this because this is a second one. And we will use the get screen tab by ID method and yeah, 128, as far as I remember. And we want to set visible to false. Yeah, it was pretty new, so it's not available everywhere. And yeah, and after just a moment, there is no tab quality assurance. So we did what we wanted to do. And what's next? Of course, I mentioned that this should be available only on transitioning to to the done status. So we don't want to run the set visible code in other statuses, in other views and other statuses as well. So we'll make it through here, but the condition should be more or less like we need to check if this is issue transition first. So I have the function for that. It's really similar to the issue create. And yes, we have such thing. We can check if this is not, yeah, it's available here. That's cool. But I will change, oh yeah, I don't have other statuses, so it will not be visible. It will be visible only here. So I have it visible, it doesn't disappear. And I need to take some additional steps. So I mentioned that it should work only on transitioning into the status done. And I think that I can grab the issue transition because I moved it here. So I have some console logs, and the console log is, for example, here, and I have issue transition 31. So I can make a condition for that and just run only when the transition type or ID is 31 and type is finished in that case. Additionally to that, I mentioned that we should make some fields required, and those fields would be, yeah, we need to get them first, but in a second. So we were talking about fields that are called, oh yeah, it will be unavailable because I hide that. So we should be here. Change impact and quality review. And here we can just easily use this table that I prepared. So I know that quality review ID is this one. And I can change it to required. And that was the first field, and we would like to make it a second as well. So 7.0. Yeah, it's important to mention that if I'm changing fields, I need to beforehand register them to properly show the loading indicators in that case. And only in that case they will be applied. So if I will not register them in the second callback of the init, then they will not be applied. But we can check it right now. Yeah, so we have those. I fulfilled them previously, but we have those asterisks, and I cannot update till I will change something here. Yep. Back again here. And what would be useful as well if some person, oh yeah, we have another error. There was an error with applying QA modifications. So we can check what is going on. And I know probably what is there. So we wanted to hide here the tab that is named quality assurance, but previously I clicked that to be available in issue transition. And then there is a mechanism that is trying to help the user that, yeah, this tab will be available for you beforehand open. And that's why to overcome this problem, we would need to really focus on different tab. If we want to hide this one, we want to also focus user on different tabs. So, for example, on tab 25 at the end. And focus is just without any other parameter. And yeah, and this works right now, so we don't have an error. So the error callback was pretty useful 2 times. And yeah, we need to go back to this part. Yeah, I made it required, set is visible, and make this invisible and focus on different tab. And we have this done, I believe, because it's, oh yeah, what we can do additionally to that, we can focus on the quality assurance tab here as well. So to help our employees or team members to focus on the right thing. Yeah, It's the GAC and issue transition. And we have a focus here. Of course, we can hide some other tabs if there is a need, up to the requirement. So the second example is done. Then we will go and try the third one. So limiting the amount of the options. So I just mentioned about the labels that contains RTB. Labels is here. Right now it contains that, so I will just remove. So in case labels will contain RTB, we want to, for example, have only the high and medium priorities to enforce just better usage, like enforce better setting the better priorities for RTB work. Not just everything will be the lowest one, and no one will care about that. So in that case, user will be enforced to use other priorities. And for this case, we can also use the same API of for field. So first, would be good to probably copy some and labels. We'll change it. And the next field would be priority. Of course, if you don't remember the ID, you can just always get it from here, but I remember. So yeah, priority is here and labels here. So we have this one, and we can do nice condition for, yeah, and I forgot about the priority here. So want to change it, so we need to add it. Get field by ID, yeah, I use that one. So labels and get value, and it should contain includes here RTB. So if it includes RTB, then I can use set options visibility method. But first I need to check the IDs since I don't remember, and those will be different in all of the cases. The options visibility API looks like I need to pass options. It means the option IDs and make it visible or not. So for example, I would like in that case, make 3 options unavailable. So it will be highest, low, and lowest. So first I need to get those IDs. So I will click on highest, and then I can just easily know that this is ID 1. False, and lowest is 5, and low probably 4. Yes. Okay, some formatting here, and then we can go open issue view once again. So yeah, if there will be an RTB and everything was done for me on init callback, so then I have only the high and medium available and the priority that was set previously. So to avoid such situation that I have the old as a value, I can just as well change the value. Set value, and value would be, if this is 1, 2, 3, I believe that I can just use this ID. No, oh yeah, I did use. Second, give me a second. Still low. Not sure why. I can check it a bit later, just to proceed with other stuff. Oh yeah, it's there. A bit slow, but the high was there. It's worth to mention that it's a different initial view that we see the inline edits. So for some changes, the whole view needs to call the API to change the value. It's different than in here because this is a form. It will change the value immediately. There is no need to save it first. That's why there was probably a bit delay there. And but everything is okay if I have this RTB beforehand set by someone else on creating an issue. But it could be an issue if, for example, I would just remove it, close it, and open it again. There is no RTB, so I have all of the list options, but I will add it here. And unfortunately, I still have the full list. So all of the changes that we did already were done on init, so initialization of given view. But we can just do the same for on change. So if user changes the value, we can as well react on that. So I would like to do the same. So have this ability, if user changes the value of the labels, then I can react on that and, for example, narrow down the list of the options in a priority. So first, probably I'll just create a function from it. Limit priorities. And pass the API. Okay, so we can use it here immediately. Pass the whole API. I have this from the parameter. And as well, I can also use it in this place. But we want to run it only if the current change is really the priority change. Yeah? We'll check if the labels was changed by the user to not run the whole code. Anyway, we'll check that labels includes RTB, but we will also want to make a condition for labels. Yeah, so it will run only in that case. And yeah, I use the change parameter from the onChange API, so it will contain the field that was changed. I can show it in a second as well. So it is always available here. I use that one last change snapshot. I use that one to grab the IDs from the labels, from the priorities. And this contains the same API as those fields as get field by ID and the same data. So you know that the field and all of the data that was changed, and in that case only the value, yeah, because user can change only the value here. So we can try it again. I will remove the RTB from here. And yeah, I have full list. I will just select the RTB. I still have a full list, so probably I didn't save my changes. Once again. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, something doesn't work here. Let me refresh that and check what is going on. If I have really, yeah, this is console logged, so I should see that. Oh. Somehow I don't see it change here. I'm just surprised. Okay, I see priority. Oh, I saw labels. There was change, but the snapshot was pretty slow. Okay, so we can go once again. Okay, labels are there. So we can remove it once again. Okay, full list, TB, labels. And somehow I still see the whole. I need to check what is inside. Oh yeah, obvious thing that I forgot myself and didn't use the on error. Really, yeah, here is there. So as I mentioned, to make a change by the field, I need to declare the priority. That's why it didn't work. And I just forgot about that. So once again, it should be okay. This time. So we have no list. Then we should have the full list, RTB, and the narrow down list. And yeah, that's okay. It works as expected with some troubles, but at least I was able to find them. And yeah, that's the end. And the last to do was done. So that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you. That was a really good demo. And it's really nice to have that touch of fixing errors on the go. It makes it more natural and human. So thank you very much. With that, I'll open the floor to any questions. We do have some questions still in the chat, but if there's anyone who wants to ask their questions live, you can do so now by clicking the raise hand icon. Otherwise, I'm gonna head straight to the chat. No questions? Going once? Okay. Ramesh,
Yeah,
do you want to ask your question? Okay.
yeah. So I have a question regarding Jira service management UI modification. So we would like to change the behavior of the share functionality or user picker functionality, right? On customer portal currently, when we try to add or share ticket with somebody, right? So it displays the full name of the user instead of the email ID. Right, I assume that if you have a couple of employees having the same full name, then we don't know which person is the correct person to add to the ticket, right? So is there any way to change that behavior by using the Forge API or UI modification features or API? Sorry, did you get my question? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can answer. So JSM portal right now is a top priority for us. So we are like actively exploring it, and we'll share with you any updates on the ticket, which I shared before. So right now it's not possible. Whether it will be possible in the future, it depends. For sure, we will deliver support for fields incrementally. So we'll start from like 10, the most popular fields, and then we'll continue to add support for more fields. So not possible right now. Let's stay in touch. Maybe it will be possible in the future. But as also Marcin answered, assuming that this is a user field, we will be unable to change the user to the email address. So maybe some other workarounds will be possible, like with using a different field.
Yeah, but if you see in agent view, right, so there we are able to see full name along with the email address, right? We are clearly differentiating,
maybe things
the
like
user.
showing, additional info in description on the hover or something like it. Like we don't have a solution right now for sure for this one, but yeah, we are open to talk about it for the future. But first of all, we need to have a basic support for JSON portal, and we don't have it. So this is for future.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I've seen long raised hand. Okay.
Hi. So
Hello.
right now, when you want to make any UI modification, you have to pass in the field ID as part of the data to the REST API, right? Correct, right? Else you won't be able to identify the field that you want to have the modification applied. Is there a recommendation where should we go with the approach of having multiple field IDs within the data in the same UI modification, or there should be multiple UI modifications for individual field? Because it seems like with the current REST API, it's possible to do both. But is there like a best practice or performance implication if you go with either approach?
You can for like the example that I showed doesn't use the UI modifications REST API data at all. Yeah. So we are not forcing you to use the data property from the REST API, because I didn't use it here. For my purpose, it was simple. The REST API, except defining that UIM should run in a backend project A, you don't need to use the data there. You can. This is additional thing that we added to make it like a bit more performance, to have it beforehand rather than use it, for example, for storage. Some data, some configuration. So you can put their IDs, but it's up to you. It's up to you how you'll configure. There are some limits in the configuration described in the API, but it's pretty elastic. So you can just choose what will be the best for your app. Because I don't know the use case, so can't make more assumptions there.
Right. So it's okay to go either way, I guess. Right. Okay. Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Now let's go to the chat. Viresh, you have a question, the last one. Do you mind asking the question live? Is Viresh still in the call? Oh, hi.
Yeah, I'm
There
in
you
the
go.
call. We have created a unique custom field. So added the JQL expression in the configuration. So while creating issue, is it possible to validate using UI modification?
Is it the custom field that you are creating by the UI, or this is a forged custom field?
Fourth custom field.
Okay, so yeah, Jakub probably will send a ticket. It's not yet done, so we don't support as a UIM forged custom fields yet.
Okay.
But we have planned to support at some point.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
During interest, we know it's needed. It's just complex for us. So and we have so many requests for JSON for support for JSON portal. So this is our top priority. We need to finish it first.
Well, is there another way to validate the field?
Yeah, if you use like a normal custom field, like not forged custom field, but normal custom field, you can validate the content, right, and show, for example, an error flag, right, on the UI.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, thank you. Okay, I believe we were able to answer all of the questions in the chat. If I missed on anything, we still have more minutes for you to ask.
Okay.
Okay, Paul?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, right. Yeah, I just ask a question if it's possible to do REST calls inside the UI modification, and if we can fetch something from the storage, which applies to our Forge app. So is this possible?
Yes, you can make a call to Jira. There are even functions that you can use. You can use invoke, you can use the Jira request, and you can just ask storage about some data inside the UI modifications. It's the same as other custom UI apps, so you can do the same. The thing is that you need to keep in mind that if you do make more and more calls for some things, then the app will run longer, and then user, for example, for a need will see the changes later. Yeah, that.
Is there some sort of maximum invocation time on timeout in some way?
For UIM, not, but for the invocation time on invoke function from the Forge, it is.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Just please think about user experience and inform user, right? Why the user is waiting. It's all about keeping the users with us and informing them what's going on, right? We don't want to make the impression that Jira is slow, right? So
yeah, so normally if you will define the field that you want to change, then the loading, if app will be slow, slower, at least it will take more than 1 second or so. Then you will see the loading indicator on the field, and the user will be notified about that. But anyway, it's better to make it more performant if possible.
Yeah, it's also for me as a user. I also don't want to have long loading times, so I have that in mind.